In an entertaining ball game last Friday night, the Waukon Indians got by the New Hampton Chickasaws and moved on to the second round of the tournament. We're chatting about it with head coach Chad Beermann. Close competitive ball game, but your kids got it done last Friday. How'd you get it done?
Well, we've been kicking extra points, 1 point extra points. Usually, we have a history of going for two, but this year we've been kicking the one, and we got our first one, so we went up 7-0. And when New Hampton scored, they went for two, and we got a stop, so 7-6. But early in the ball game, you don't realize that that's going to be the margin. But we each scored 3 touchdowns. We got 3 extra points, and then we ended up kicking a field goal to get to 24. And they had 3 touchdowns, but 2 2-point conversions, which gets them to 22. And so that was relatively early in the game, about mid-second quarter, I suppose, but that was the margin between the scores.
And the kicking game has been something that you've done more often than you definitely have in years past. How has that developed throughout the course of the season?
Well, Dylan has done a good job kicking for us. He had a field goal against North Fayette Valley right before half that kind of gave us a little bit more comfortable lead. And so Friday night when we got down, it was about 4th and 2. And, we're down just inside the 15. And I looked over at Coach Heeman. I said, what do you think? You want to go, or you got to play, or should we kick it? And he said, kick it. So we ran Dylan out, and he put it right through and got us up 24-14 at that point. And that was a big, obviously that's the winning margin, so that was a huge deal for us.
And a lot of explosive plays through the passing game. Noah was 11 of 17, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns. Nash Pearson with 7 catches, 144 yards, and 2 scores last Friday night. What made your passing game click last week?
We had time. They ran some different twists and stunts that we hadn't seen. So as the game went on, we got a little more comfortable with it. We actually had a 70-yard touchdown called back on a lineman downfield, and so everybody, 5 or 4 of the linemen heard the note not to get downfield, but the 5th one didn't, and he pulled up, and so that one got called back on a reverse pass. But and actually, some of those like one of Nash's long passes, Jacob Reagan did a nice job blocking for him. It was a shorter pass out in the flat, and he picked up a block and went down the sideline. So the line did a good job. Noah did a great job of finding kids, so he had a couple interceptions, but one of those was one of our kids went through our kid's hand, tipped up, and then they picked it. And the other one, the McShane kid, just made he jumped up and caught it just as it crossed the line of scrimmage. So. He did a good job throwing the ball. Obviously, the kids hung on for receptions, and the line gave him time.
And this week, you get another opportunity to face the last team to knock you guys off in the Crestwood Cadets. Since that week 3 matchup, how are you a different team? How are they a different team?
Well, for us, we've shuffled a lot of people around on defense. We had a couple injuries, and so we had kids that stepped in and have done a good job for us on offense. And one starter on defense that we've had to replace because of injury, but we shuffled some other kids around. Like I've talked about the linebacking core and secondary. We've just moved kids around to where we thought they could help us the most. So we've improved, I think, offensively and defensively, just as we've grown and kids have gotten used to their roles. Crestwood still runs a lot of the same stuff. Against NFV last week, they were really controlling the line of scrimmage and run the ball well, and they didn't show a whole lot. Against us, they pulled some stuff out we hadn't seen. They had competitive ball games with Osage where they're trying to come back, and New Hampton's another one where they were on the short end, and they've had to spread things out a little bit more and throw a little bit more in those games. And so we'll see if we're able to control the line of scrimmage or hold even with them. What they'll come out with, and some wrinkles we haven't seen, I'm sure.
And I know in the first game you struggled to run the ball. You only had 17 carries for 30 yards in that ball game. What do you need to do to execute the run game a little better this week?
We need to be able to pick up their line twists and movements better. We had a couple other teams that have tried to run similar defenses, but Crestwood's got some good D linemen that they gave us trouble the first time we played them, and so we'll be working on picking up, like I said, line games, twists, and stunts, and if we can do a better job with that, we'll have a lot more success running the ball.
And can you take anything big time from that week 3 matchup, or is it a case of that game was 7 weeks ago and it's almost like a new matchup heading into Friday night?
I think there's some stuff, I'm sure. I mean, good teams have their base plays, their base defenses, the stuff that they're comfortable with, and you'll see that. Like I said, after playing each other, I'm sure there'll be something that each team saw from that matchup that you'll try to take advantage of, or you feel that you can do better than you had when you guys met before.
All right, Coach, ought to be a dandy of a ball game Friday night to keep your guys healthy. We wish best of luck.
All right, thank you.
Chad Beermann getting ready for the second round of Class 2A Playoffs-Waukon in Crestwood this Friday night.